Yeah, I was injured February 1st, and 2012, and I went through like a lot of medical stuff. When I went to return, I didn't get a summer school assignment, so when school resumed, they sent me on assignment to Marina. I worked 3 days, and they called me and told me that I was not released to be back to work, and so I went back home. I thought that was because they didn't get some clarification from my doctor. So I called my doctors, everything was okay, and then they finally told me I was slated for dismissal as the reason why I was called back off work. And that's the first time I knew that I was called off for dismissal.
Why did they say you were being dismissed?
Well, they claimed that, among other things, that I didn't do my job, which is untrue. They claimed that I created a hostile environment toward the administration and kids, which is not true. I had an incident with the principal, and
that was a February incident.
February incident.
Okay, so tell me what happened.
Well, after being injured at her intervention in my duties, which I don't think she should have been involved in herself, we all fell on the ground. I tore my meniscus in 2 places, so I required surgery, and I also discovered that I had accumulated a hernia, which was a double hernia. So I had 3 surgeries over the summer. So within that incident,
describe the incident a little bit more.
Well, the incident was we had a student, a female student, that was trying to fight another female student. And myself and another para had control of this student. And she was calming down. We were trying to get her out the door to talk to her, to get away from the other student. The principal came and said, oh, she's not calm enough. Asked the other para to let her go, and she tried to put her in this hole that she feels is sacred, which is a triangle hole. And she's put this triangle hole on small kids as small as 85, 90 pounds, and she's a very big person, 300 pounds plus. And so she wanted me to put this hole on a girl. I told her I refused to do it because it was inappropriate. It's the way you do the hole is around the back and then smash them against the wall. So I told her I didn't feel comfortable having my personal body in close proximity of a female student. And I refused to do the hole. So then she said, well, let's get her on the ground. Before I could even respond to that, she began to try to pull her down, and I wasn't ready. So they kind of like, I guess, hit my leg, and we all fell over on the ground with them falling on top of my leg. That's what created the injury. So when I came back from my doctor's...
So wait, now this is when this principal supposedly sat on this.
Oh yeah, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, in the duration of that situation, after I fell on the ground and was injured, the principal laid the student out on her, first on her stomach, and was holding her down. Then she said, "We're going to roll you over on your back," So she rolled her over on her back, and held her hands above her head and was over her body. And to me, it looked like she was laying on her. She said she was kneeling over her, but either way, it was an inappropriate way to constrain a child. They have a video of the incident, and she claims that the video has been seen and that the allegations are untrue, yet no one can see the video. I was involved in the incident. I'm a part of the incident. I should be able to see the video. She said that certain people that are not affiliated with the school at the time, Reverend Amos Brown, and saw the video. And I questioned why would he be able to see the video when people that are affiliated with the school can't see it. So anyway, yeah, that was the incident where the principal sat on the child or laid on the child.
Okay, and that's what kind of started.
That started.
For you. Okay. All right.
And then my personal thing, when I came back on injury, they wanted to put me in a modified work capacity, which they had to do. They stuck me in the main office first, which was okay. When Nancy, being secretary in the main office, made a comment that it was nice that I was there because I was helping and she was able to get caught up on work, I assumed that the principal heard this, came back and told me we were changing your assignment to the counseling office. So I went under protest. While in the counseling office, I had a child throw a phone at my head. So I told her that it was not safe for me to be there and that I needed to be out of the counseling office. We had a discussion about it, and I told her that I was going to call workers' comp to get clarification on what my duties should be because I wasn't supposed to be working with students. in the meeting, when I told her that, she said, well, if you leave this office without assuming the counseling office duty, you will be clocked out of work, you will be off work. That was her word. She turned it around and said that I said that. I didn't say that.
Okay.
So in the process of calling workers' comp, they told me, well, let's get clarification, we'll call you back. I had phoned on the school phone, so I was waiting by the school phone for them to return my call. For more than an hour and a half, 2 hours, she sat in her office hearing me on the phone. At any time she could have come out and said that I don't want you on the phone. There was no mention of it. So when the lunch bell sounded, she came out and told me, you relieved of duty at 10:15 when you left my office. While you're on the campus, you need to leave the campus now. You need to get off this campus. And, you know, as if I wouldn't work there, talking to me very condescending and, you know. So this went on for a little while, and finally I said, okay. And we were on the opposite sides of a counter, and she was parallel to me, or adjacent to me. And so as I walked to the swinging door to get my MRI film and other documentation I left by the phone, she tracked along the counter with me and stopped at the swinging door saying, you need to leave now, you need to leave now. And I told her she needed to get the F out of my face. You know,
that's when things went downhill.
That's when things went downhill. But, you know, at this time, I had been harassed by her and the vice principal. I mean, things like I was on medication. I was put on also on high blood pressure med, they found out, and so they put it on, and it makes me, you know, lose water. So they would put me in this position, says, oh, you're here, your break is this time, that time. And when I went to get people to relieve me for a break, there was no one around. And, you know, being on that medication, I had to go to the bathroom. I would go to the bathroom, come back, and you were away from your post for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. So, you know, just a lot of harassment.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And here we are.
Okay.
I came back from Christmas break, and someone had left a box of candy on my desk, and mice drippings were all over it. The candy had been open, and each day before that, mice were all over the school, my classroom. And I told Eberhardt that I had mice in my classroom, and she told me they're all around the school. You're just going to have to live with them. And I'm like, thank you. I couldn't believe she said that. And each day I went home, I was very itchy, and I was wondering why I was so itchy. And the kids, anytime that they would put something down, you would wonder if the mice had played on their desk. It was really a scary kind of situation, because, you know, mice carry germs. We don't want our kids come to a classroom filled with mice. My children have gone to private schools, and I've never heard them say once that they encountered mice in their classroom. This is so bizarre that a principal wouldn't take a stand and say, hey, let's correct this problem. We need to do something about this. Instead, she told me to live with it.
We had a child at the school find rat or mouse poison, which was a cake. She smashed it into a form of a cookie and went around telling people she had cookies. They had some kids that actually tasted it, and how they figured out that she had done this, she actually went to teachers and said, I have cookies, you want to eat it. One of the teachers recognized it as being rat poison, you know, so she actually distributed rat poison out to kids. And some kids actually ingested some of it, and this kid remained at the school, this incident, which is, you know, really health and safety threat, you know, to other kids eating rat poison. So it was a big incident of rat poison. Also, there was a union issue at the time they were doing construction in the building, and there was a lot of dust everywhere and stuff, and people were, you know, you're smelling a lot of, you know, fumes and stuff, and they made no effort to expel the dust, or they put up some plastic tarping, but most often the workers were going in and out of the tarping and would leave it open, and all this fumes and dust and stuff were coming out. So there was also a big issue on the safety health issue on this dust with kids breathing it in. You know, we tried to find out if there was asbestos involved, and I don't know where that went. I don't know if they found any, but there was still the issue of the workers, you know, working. And let's see, if that would have occurred in another district, another school area, they would have taken care of that. You know, that wouldn't have happened.
Pastor Williams is the parent who filed the lawsuit against discrimination in schools in San Francisco, and it was a result of his lawsuit for his child. The law was changed in California, and it's known as the William Act. And we believe that, in fact, what's happening to Martin Luther King is connected to the unfair treatment, the discriminatory treatment of students in San Francisco.
This is the handbook that's supposed to be handed out to parents and students every year. When they begin the school year, this is part of the package. And in Chapter 10, it speaks specifically on the issues that are discussed here today. So if everybody would comply with this, Chapter 10, if everybody would comply with this is a law of the land, then we should have never had this conversation. So if everybody that have any students in the public school, they ought to read up on this. They ought to read up. This documented is the law of the land that was signed into law by Arnold Schwarzenegger, Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. So this will help facilitate all the discriminatory problems that we have in the school if there's continuing problems, so that way we can not only help our children, educating our children, but also with all the faculties.
Are you surprised?
I'm very surprised, because this was signed into law in 2004.
What does it say?
It says
that there should be fair treatment.
There should be fair treatment to all the teachers, students. They should have enough textbooks for every child, and they should also repair any problems with the buildings.
And there was mice in the school. There were rat things left in the school, and this was reported by Linda Cooks.
When we started this lawsuit, it brought a lot of issues that was happening in the schools that was being ignored by the principals and the teachers, and then knowing that you know, we're raising our children so that they can be great citizens. That's why this came about.
I just have one thing to say, and that is whoever has the power and the capability to do the right thing for the students, for the staff, the parents, and community at Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Academic Middle School, my hope and prayer is that they will step up, take a stand, and do the right thing for our school community. The bullying and harassment of all needs to stop. And we commemorate Dr. Martin Luther King today and on Monday as his holiday. And we want justice, equality for all. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thank you. And so you're...
Saw the video.
I was removed. I witnessed the tape when the principal tried to have another employee change her statement. I saw myself on the video camera, and I had to report it as a mandated reporter, and that's what I did. And if that was wrong, and that is why I was removed, then so be it. But I want justice for that child and all the children, the whole community at Dr. Martin Luther King School. That was my life I spent there. And as a dedicated employee, even if I'm not there, I want them to do the right thing for that school.
Where were you told why you were let go?
Unprofessional conduct.
Do they have any examples?
No. So I was, removed, laid off, then reassigned to a school in the Avenues. But I couldn't do it. It was just too stressful and too hard on me to report to another school.
I'm with United Public Workers for Action, and we're involved in supporting the teachers and staff at Martin Luther King School in San Francisco.
Okay, so you represent
Public workers.
okay, including the security guard.
Including security guard, yeah.
Okay.
And the reason we're having this press conference in action here is because there's a series of bullying, harassment of the staff, and the physical abuse of a student at the school, Martin Luther King, last February. And the staff at the school who complained about it, whistleblew on it, themselves have been retaliated against by the school district, the Superintendent Carranza, who said that there was a full investigation that was done. In fact, the people who were in the incident were not even interviewed. So they're now trying to fire the whistleblowers at the incident. In addition to that, 17 staff people, teachers and staff, have been removed from the school, bullied out of the school, and their violations, this has an historic thing for Martin Luther King, because the Williams Agreement in San Francisco, the law was passed that there's discrimination. You cannot have discrimination against black Latino students. At the Martin Luther King Middle School, they shut down the music program, they shut down the art program, and they do not have equal rights as other students in San Francisco. This would not be happening at a rich school in Pacific Heights. So what we're saying is there's a long continuity of discrimination against the students, mostly Latino and black, at Martin Luther King Middle School, and this has to stop. And in fact, instead of defending the students and the faculty and staff, the administration here are targeting Tobias Caine, who is a security guard there, who was injured in the incident. In fact, they falsified the injured form and said the student injured him, when in fact the injury took place as a result of the intervention of Natalie Eberhard, who's the principal of the school.
So who's doing the bullying here?
The bullying is being done by Natalie Eberhard, who's the principal. It's being done by Anthony Braxton, who actually falsified a form and said that Tobias Caine was injured by the student. In fact, it was as a result of the principal's intervention that he was injured.
Now, why would these people be bullying employees?
Because they want to institute a testing program. They want to get rid of faculty and staff who are against that testing program, and also they are interested in turning this into a charter school. That's really what's going on. They want to privatize the school. So you would think in San Francisco, on the commemoration of Martin Luther King, that the Martin Luther King Middle School in San Francisco would have the best of everything in San Francisco, this wealthy city. And yet, basic programs like music, art have been closed down. They don't have proper security. There are fights, there are expulsions there. The city and the school district are not taking care of the students and the staff at that school. That's why we're saying this has to stop. It's really outrageous, and on the anniversary of Martin Luther King, this should not be happening in San Francisco at the Martin Luther King Middle School. I mean, it's tragedy, because what we're saying is we don't want these kids to end up in jail and unemployed. We want them to have a good future. We want them to have the best education they have. San Francisco can provide that and should provide that. So today, on Martin Luther King's commemoration of his weekend, we're saying let's start with cleaning up Martin Luther King, defending the staff and faculty, returning them to the school that were bullied out. There were 17, and actually bringing back the music and art program at the school. Can we do that in San Francisco?
So the allegations, list the allegations for me in a nutshell.
The allegations are that last February, the principal, Natalie Eberhard, intervened in a situation with a student. She physically sat on the student, which is improper and a physical abuse. And the workers at the school, staff security guard, Tobias Caine, and other people who were whistleblowers about this incident themselves have been retaliated and removed from the school. So what we're saying is the people who blew the whistle on what was going on themselves have been attacked by the management.